Hello, this is Scarlet and Rage podcast. Thank you for taking time to watch today. We are a day late because we had a logistical issue that kept us from recording on Sunday evening, but we are coming to you on Monday evening, and you will receive this early Tuesday morning. So thank you for waiting the extra day. There will be 2 episodes this week as well. This is the first of 2 that you can look forward to from us. And if you have not, please hit that subscribe button. And if you would give us a like, that would really help us. We're trying to get this back out into the YouTube algorithm. And those of you who are watching, sharing, giving thumbs up, and subscribing, you are helping that to happen. So thank you very much. We have, the typical post-game episode here. I know that it's been a couple of days now, but we're still going to dive into what took place on the field at Marshall, against Marshall in Columbus, Ohio on Saturday. Big game, a lot to take from that, I think. Plenty of good and certainly some bad as well. So we're going to get into that in detail here in just the next few minutes. But until then, we now are going to shift it over to the co-host of the show, Rage. Rage, how was your weekend?
Michael, my weekend was actually kind of busy, even though it was like, I spend all my days on Saturday watching college football and everything, but there's just a lot of stuff to get done around here, man. Yeah, it was fine though, honey-do list stuff, but it was my to-do list as well. Your weekend, solid?
Yeah, pretty good weekend. I did go to the Buckeye game this weekend in Columbus. So I was there in the flesh as they took on the Marshall Thundering Herd. And Jay, that's the first game I've been to since 2017.
Michael, so that leads into this question. So I guess we're going to talk about the Ohio State atmosphere and stuff. And I actually have a couple questions for you. I mean, I went to a game last year and everything. But tell me about your experience with 2017 Ohio Stadium versus 2024 Ohio Stadium. Just the crowd, what's going on during the game. I mean,
okay, so
the fan experience, everything, man.
Yeah. So the last time I was at a game, 2017, they were playing Illinois, and so it was a conference game, and it was a night game. So there's always going to be a little bit more juice, a conference game and a night game. It was definitely a more electric atmosphere in 2017. And that atmosphere kind of, I think, covered up a lot of the lack of experience that people talk about at Ohio Stadium. And so when I was there in 2024, obviously this year, just this past Saturday, it was not a big game. It was a noon game. It was very hot, and the stadium was very lethargic. And when there was not a lot of energy in the stadium, it was a very lackluster viewing experience.
All I heard about from like commentators, not the TV, I don't think the people on TV said this, but like just different podcasters, Ohio State reporters were saying how hot it was, and the heat on the field might have led to, some of the I guess the unenthusiasm by Ohio State, the lack of energy was the heat on the field. What would you say? Was it really that hot out that day, or?
I mean, yes, it was hot. It was hot. It was 91, like real temp in Columbus that day. Felt like, I think it felt like 94. 91 felt like 94. And the sun was just baking right on the horseshoe. I mean, it's like the sun was just directly over the horseshoe, throughout the game. And so I imagine it was well over 100 degrees down on that field, on that turf. So yeah, it was certainly very hot. But both teams were playing in it, so I mean, Marshall was playing in it too.
Yeah. So I know where you're going to go with that, man. So here's my question, man. And this is my complaint, again, I haven't been to a game this season. I've heard there's been a lot of changes this season and how the game is conducted by, just Ohio State and everything. But I've heard that they are playing like rap music and dance music more in the stadium on game day during timeouts. And I already knew they had a DJ. I don't know if you knew that, but they do have a DJ and stuff. And I've heard complaints about like officials trying to make calls or something on the field or something to be said, and like people can't hear them because of all the stupid effing music being played. Michael, is that true for this season? You tell me, man.
Well, honestly, I didn't notice that. I mean, I'm sure I'm trying to think back. I guess there was some music played, but I didn't. Come to think of it, I do think that actually happened. I really do. I think that an official was trying to make some kind of call, and it was a call that we didn't think was going to be favorable. And so the fans kind of started to boo, but then the music was playing, so you couldn't exactly hear what the call was. And then it's like, once everybody kind of figured out what it was again, then they booed again because it went against Ohio State. But yeah, that actually did happen, but it wasn't something that I thought a whole lot about. So there's been like a lot of complaints about that online.
Yeah, I don't know if a lot is the right word, but there have been complaints.
Yeah.
Not much else to be said there. So my biggest problem with Ohio Stadium now is, you said it earlier, is the lack of enthusiasm by the fan base. I really do feel like about the year 2009, maybe 2010, right after Tressel left, it started to change, and it didn't change for the good. It really does feel like that the fans inside Ohio Stadium are just a bunch of people there just to watch. They're not really cheering as much. They're not into the game. They don't know nearly as much about football as the people that I would see prior to like 2010. It's just a bunch of like, I don't know. I've heard richer people, considering the ticket prices have like exploded. And
well, that happens, and it wouldn't surprise me a bit. And that it's continued to get higher and higher. I mean, look at the New York Yankees. I mean, the old Bronx Stadium was a madhouse. But the blue collar guy could afford a ticket back over there. When they opened up the new $1 billion stadium across the road, ticket prices are through the roof, and it was a much more kind of sophisticated crowd, and Yankee Stadium doesn't really get wild anymore. So I think that definitely is something that can happen.
Yeah, it makes for a not so great of an experience as it would be back in the day. Not saying Ohio Stadium's ever a bad experience. It is the greatest place in the world, in my opinion. But on game day.
Yeah, the fans were, I mean, and I didn't think a lot about it because it was Marshall, but hopefully they are quite a bit more enthusiastic and into it than that, most of the time, at least with the conference games. I'm sure they are.
I don't know. I don't go to many games anymore. I used to go to a lot of games, but it just, I don't know. I can make another episode on that, why I don't.
Now that I went to one, I want to go back again. Like
Hey, Michael, you know what I texted you the other day, right?
What?
I think we need to figure out a way for the both of us to go to the Michigan game.
Oh,
and then we could have like a live show.
Did you text me that?
I did text you that.
Did I respond?
You might have got. I thought you might have, but maybe you responded to something else.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Is it? It's in Columbus this year, right?
Yeah. It's in Columbus.
Yep.
Yeah, it's an even year. Even years is always in Columbus. Odd years is in Michigan.
Okay.
I don't know. Just thinking out loud, man. I'm thinking I might just drive up to Columbus, get a hotel, and I don't know. We could just. I don't know. It's still a mystery to that.
I'm down. We just got to find tickets.
Oh, I'll find tickets. Now the question is how much we're going to pay for them. They're there.
Yeah, that's the question. How much we're going to pay?
No, I mean there isn't really a bad seat there, but yeah, man. Just a complaint I've had is like the fans suck at Ohio Stadium now. you can't really get too into the game, stand up for too long. Oh, sit down. I'm trying to see the game. Or, oh, don't talk too negative about our team and this, that, and the other. And they just don't know jack shit about football. And you can tell by the comebacks or the rebuttals they would say to just not just me, but other people. The few.
Well, I was way up in C deck, and the poor woman in front of me had some type of heat stroke or something. I think she'd been drinking too much, and so she was laid out on the ground, and it was a big ordeal, and it really distracted from the game. Obviously, that this is taking place the row right in front of me. They had to get paramedics.
She was directly in front of you.
Directly in front of me. They had they had to get paramedics up there. They got this big tube that they like put her in and slid her down those steep stairs. So it was quite the ordeal. So no telling how much of the game I actually missed with all that going on right in front of me. But yeah, it was that's a testament to the heat as well, as the sun was beaming off those aluminum bleachers.
Did she seem intoxicated before she collapsed?
Yeah, I think so.
How the fuck do you get intoxicated by like noon? I never understood that, man. I understand night games and even a 3:30 game, but a noon game, it's like, fuck, I'm too lazy to get up that early.
It was a lady who was not that big. So, I mean, she could have, had 4 or 5 beers or something, and then that baking sun, and maybe she's out if she was dehydrated a little bit too or something, who knows? There was like doctors around us. There was like 2 medical doctors in the area. So they both started kind of tending to her or whatever. But anyhow, Jay, let's get into the game itself. Where do you want to start?
Michael, watching that game, Ohio State has a lot of problems, man. We got some problems on this team, and I don't think they're ever going to be fixed. And a lot of people are starting to notice that, and people are scared. I'm scared, Michael. I am legitimately scared because we know if there is an issue with Ohio State under Ryan Day, it does not get fixed later in the year. And that's where our message is going to be different, is the issues we're going to point out, I really don't believe they're going to be fixed this year. And that's scary because under Ryan Day, you think he has something else up his sleeve against other teams that are better and this, that, and the other. In reality, he doesn't. They are what they are, and they roll with what they have, and they're a simple team, really. Chip Kelly has changed the offense, but the defense, man, I don't know, man. Again, I guess we'll start by a position breakdown. Let's start with the positive, though. Michael, my God, man, Quintan Judkins. Can you just say Quintan Judkins for fucking Heisman? Is that too soon?
He certainly, I don't know if he's going to get enough carries to be able to get those kind of numbers, but if he gets 17, 18 carries a game, then I think it's definitely possible. He's definitely a guy you want to give the ball to. Trey runs like a 35, 40-yard touchdown run that you just kind of don't even really even think about. It was just like, oh yeah, there goes Trey, because you've been watching Judkins, be a hammer all day. But yeah, he's really, really good.
My God, man. Here's a question for you. Who do you think's better, Quintan Judkins or J.K. Dobbins in college?
I think, oh boy. I think JK. Yeah. I do think JK maybe has an edge on him because but again, they were different backs. JK was a guy that could make people miss. He was a guy that really got out in the open field. He wasn't really a grinder per se, although it's not like he wasn't a tough back. But Judkins is kind of unique to the backs Ohio State has had in recent years. I guess maybe you could say a little bit of similarity with the Trey Sermon running style, but I think he's definitely a level up even from Trey Sermon. And just explosive, fast, good vision, just hits it straight on and gets north and south, and is able to just turn that corner the way that some backs can. He can get those shoulders turned and boom, he's going, north and south. And so not only is he a big play threat, I don't think quite as big a play threat as Trey, but pretty close. Not only is he a big play threat, he's also that back that'll just put his head down and just get 3 or 4 tough yards.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, man. I think I take Quintan over JK though, because JK became like home run hitter-ish, but I don't think he ever had a run as long as Quinshon Judkins did. 86 yards. That is just unbelievable. And then the stiff arm he had in like the third quarter for that touchdown was just one of the nastiest stiff arms I've seen in a while. And hey, I'm eating crow, everyone. I was not sold on Quinshon after week 1. I wasn't saying that it was over for him, but I had a lot of like reservations, but he has absolutely changed my mind. If there is a better running back in the country, I want to see him, because I went into the year saying Trey was our number 1 and Quinshon is the best number 2 back in the country. Well, fuck that shit, man. Quinshon Judkins is the best running back in the country, and then Travion's top 5. That is the honestly, Michael, this is the best collective running back, like best running game, considering with Ohio State's offensive line what they're doing. Best that I've seen in my life. And that's not a joke. I don't really believe we've ever had better collectively.
Yeah, I mean that, you know, like JK or Judkins. I mean, yeah, I could easily be with you and be like, yeah, I could take Judkins, because it's like Judkins can almost do what JK can do. When I say almost do, I just mean JK's a little shiftier. He's a little shiftier than Judkins, but you know, he can, as far as home run hitting, he's right there with JK. Like you said, maybe even above him. JK may have never had an 84-yard run, but he's right there with him, and he's got that element of just tough, putting his head down and getting north and south and getting 4, 5, 8 yards that that JK was not really known for, and neither has Henderson really been known for.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's a small sample size so far, but I mean, you know, Quinshon was first team All SEC, so it's not out of the realm of craziness that Quinshon is our best back since Ezekiel Elliott.
He was, you know, I mean, was there a running back? I mean, he was the best running back in the SEC.
Yeah, I don't really put as much stock into those rewards, because I mean, like, those rewards are the type of rewards that have Kirk Ferentz winning Big Ten Coach of the Year every year. It's like,
Well,
okay, yeah, you know, okay, you got voted by these writers and stuff, but are you really the best, or just kind of giving it just because they voted on it? I don't know.
well, you know, as a rookie, he rushed for 1,567 yards.
Yeah, I watched his rookie
As a,
film. His rookie film impressed me more than his sophomore
as a
film.
freshman. His sophomore film, something changed, because he had almost as many carries, but only had 1,158 yards. And so this year,
that's where I was like kind of looking at him. I'm like, you know, yeah, very good back. He's not a home run hitter, and I said that, but I'm wrong. He is a home run hitter.
yeah.
Is he as fast as Travion? No, not quite, but he's not far away. He's not far away, and he's so patient. He runs with power. He uses his blocks well, which patience. He's just a complete running back, man. And it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, first round running backs are rare for the NFL, but I think Quinshon could be a first round running back. And, you know, because the NFL is a passing league now, except for, you know, the Titans and Will Levis, but that's another thing.
Yeah. You know, and Judkins, I think he got banged up a bit last year, and I think that was part of why he was so interested in the transfer to Ohio State, because I mean, they had ridden him for 2 solid years, like 20 plus carries a game. I mean, they were giving him the ball a lot, and I think he liked the idea of being able to come and be in an offense where he's probably going to carry the ball 12 to 15 times most games. And then you've got Trey to, you know, pick up another 10, 12 carries, however many they give him. And so I think that was part of the reason is last year, I do believe I read that he was banged up a decent amount of the year and not really full strength.
Yeah, I believe that was a big pitch point, and he said that himself. He wanted to go to a place where, you know, he could win a national championship. Not that he couldn't at Ole Miss, because we see what they're doing. However, it's just, I think he wanted another elite back with him and Travion, and he's got it, man. So moving on to the quarterback position with Will Howard. It's not all good news there with Will Howard. I guess, Michael, what are your thoughts on Will Howard being inside of the stadium when you saw him in person?
Yeah. So, I mean, for the most part, I actually was impressed with Will Howard. I really was, but there's obviously a few things to nitpick. Um, I don't make much of the throw over the middle that he missed. That happens. I think that's just more of a one-off than it is, anything to be worried about. But the one concern, obviously, with Will Howard, and in my estimation, it's the major concern is that he's yet to show that he really can throw a good deep ball. Now, that being said, he's definitely shown himself proficient on the short and intermediate game. But it would be nice to be able to have that last piece to be able to go over top against, against defenses, and especially with the couple of the wide receivers he has. You would like to be able to do that. Hasn't shown it yet, and the secondary concern is he's kind of shown that he's good for about one or two baffling decisions per game. And so that's those things that you hope doesn't hurt you, but can come up big in a tight game. So those would be my two concerns with Will Howard. But overall, I actually am very happy with Will Howard. I think he's a good quarterback. I don't think he's a great quarterback. I think he's good.
I agree. I think he's a solid quarterback. I don't know if I would put him quite good yet, but I can tell that the scheme is really Chip Kelly has done a magnificent job orchestrating this offense and calling the offense for the most part. It's really built on the short passing game, screens, RPOs, all of that stuff, and that's all in Will Howard's wheelhouse. He's not a traditional drop back quarterback. He's not comfortable dropping back in a traditional style and making those throws. He's not going to play in the NFL. I don't see him even making an NFL roster. I even said this on a message board, like Kyle McCord. Yeah, he has his problems and stuff, but he has the ability to play in the NFL because he's got a good arm, not a great arm, a good arm. He can throw it pretty much all over the field with pretty good accuracy, but he's a stiff. And, obviously we know that he looks like his mobility has improved some at Syracuse, but Kyle McCord will get a shot at the NFL where Will Howard won't. But that doesn't mean Will Howard still can't be a good college quarterback. He's not quite there yet for me. He's a solid quarterback in college. Chip Kelly's, like I said, done a great job with the screen game, masking his deficiencies, but his deficiencies are a real problem, and they are going to arise when they start playing the really good defenses. Now, I'm not sure the Big Ten has a really good defense. I thought USC was them. You see them against Michigan, a team that can only run the ball, and they had their struggles, and it's like, okay, well, if you're struggling stopping Michigan's run, are you really a good defense? We know Oregon's defense is not good. The only defense we play on our schedule that I can say is legitimately good is Michigan. And no, it's not Penn State, because you don't get diced up by Bowling Green or considered a good defense. I mean, well, they're solid, but they're not Tennessee's defense. They're not Alabama's defense. They're not Georgia's defense. Those are the defenses I'm worried about. The defenses that can run with their linebackers and get out on those screens, press high receivers, muck things up, bring an extra guy, get after Will Howard, force him to make reads and throw down the field, because it is obvious that he is not only he really cannot throw the deep ball, but he is straight up uncomfortable in traditional dropbacks, because not just the interception he threw. Now, Jeremiah Smith could have made a better effort, but it was still a poorly thrown football. But the one pass over the middle where he traditionally dropped back and threw it to Jelani Thurman, just terrible.
Yeah, it was a badly thrown ball, but it is to be of note that he was 13 of 15 before that throw. So he was throwing the ball well. He really was. If he would have hit that deep ball, I would have walked out of the stadium going, Will Howard is looking pretty good.
Me too.
Not hitting that deep ball, obviously it leaves a little bit to be desired, but he's 51 of 74 this year, 68.9%. And he had 2 or 3 balls dropped on him in that Akron game where he would be over 70%. Now, that's not playing against world beaters by any means, and that competition is going to step up even this week against the Michigan State Spartans. But I'm pretty positive on Will Howard, and I'll just leave it at that. Positively optimistic at the quarterback position.
Yeah, I'm just I'm
Think
like
you're
in the middle, man.
yeah, I
I'm
think
in the
you're a
middle.
little under me. I don't think you're quite as optimistic on Will Howard as I am.
No, I'm not negative on him, but I'm not like positive either. I'm just kind of
See, I think Will Howard could be like
mm,
I think he could end up being like a fourth, fifth round draft pick. Now, is he going to make it and be a starting quarterback in the NFL? No, but I think that he might get a draft pick potentially, depending on how this season goes and how he looked at the combine. I think he could be a fourth, fifth round guy that might have a chance to hang around as a taxi squad guy, or maybe even work his way up to backup at some point. But no, I don't think he has much of a career in the NFL. That much I totally agree with.
moving on to the wide receiver position, Michael. Man, oh man, we have some ballers there. And Emeka Ibuka, bro, I thought that guy did not have home run hitting ability. Now, Marshall's defense, I thought they're actually a solid defense coming into this one. And I said that on the show. It's weird, like the defense had problems in this game and the offense did whatever they wanted. It was, but Emeka Ibuka, wow, just blazing speed on that screen, man. Blocked well. That's one thing Ohio State's receivers are doing this year under Chip Kelly. They are blocking much better and sprung him loose, and he outran the defense for, whatever it was, 60-yard touchdown screen. Just remarkable speed by him. Really appreciative there of that. Jeremiah Smith, we know what he is, freak of nature. And then Carnell Tate. I mean, it's just I think they're the best wide receiver trio in the country. I think they are. I'd have to study more teams, but I don't know if there's a better one.
Yeah, I mean, on offense, I think we have the best running back and wide receiver, duos and trios in the country. And so, I mean, that's saying something. Those are weapons that come. The more you have of them in big games, the better off you are. I mean, that an LSU team in 2019 comes to mind who just had a lot of offensive weapons, and it was hard to account for all of them. And that same LSU team, granted, did not have an amazing lockdown defense. They had a pretty good defense, but not an amazing defense. But their offense was just so hard to deal with. So, are we going to offensive line now, Jay?
We are going to go to offensive line. Quick note on that LSU team. I knew they were going to win the national championship. Yeah, statistically, you would say their defense wasn't great, but their last like 4 games of the year, I think they were playing like Mississippi State or somebody, and they held them to like 10 or 14 points. And it was like right then you knew that LSU had ascended, and their defense did become locked down. They won the national championship because they had a great offense and defense in the postseason. Like they did better against Clemson's offense than Ohio State did.
Well, I mean that often is indicative of a talented team.
Yeah.
We have kind of criticized that Ryan Day's teams don't ever seem to change. They just kind of stay the same from beginning to the end. But generally speaking, really talented teams can kind of begin to mesh and gel at a given point in time. 24 Buckeyes defense is a great example of that. Statistically, they did not finish a top defense in the country. They were ranked like 14th, but from the Wisconsin game on, they were a top 5, top 7 type defense.
Yeah, biggest difference between the 2019 Ohio State defense and the LSU defense in 2019 was LSU's linebackers could run and Ohio State's could not. That was the difference. Like Ohio State, like Clemson would throw those screens against Ohio State and break big ones, or Trevor Lawrence would break runs on a QB draw. They did that against LSU. They would get solid games, but they weren't springing for touchdowns.
Well, Ryan Day's deficiency at linebacker is a topic that we can pick up in the defense for sure, because it's
absolutely. But let's talk some positives, Michael.
Yeah.
The offensive line, grown men, not much else to be said. The left side of the offensive line is just blowing teams off the ball with Donovan Jackson and Josh Simmons and Seth McLaughlin. Man, can't speak highly enough about him. That was an A+ pickup, man. Going into and picking up Alabama's starting center from last year. He's got, a lot of SEC experience, and that was just, the offensive line is it's really good so far. On the, the right side with Josh Fryer is a problem, pass protecting. But there, Tegra Shabola, now I got it right, but he's his potential's there. He could be a potential NFL player. Just the offensive line, enjoy it while you have it, because they haven't recruited well enough to keep this going. But what they do have this year, I like a lot, and especially on the left side, Michael.
Yeah, it looks good. I mean, in person, I don't have any detailed analysis of the offensive line, but certainly I was paying attention in person. One of the things I watched was our offensive line, watch our defensive line as well, specifically our ends. But watching the offensive line, it looked sharp, it looked crisp. They were getting movement, they were blowing them off the ball, and they were having their way with them. And so it's Marshall. They should do that, but that's a good sign, because the offensive line certainly is looking better from the first week against Akron.
Yeah, so we have to talk about another side of the ball, Michael.
Defense.
Son of a bitch, man. We have some problems.
This was supposed to be the happy side.
Yeah, I know. Dude, this game, by the way, turned out exactly how I predicted. I was like, if they're going to struggle some, it's going to turn out probably similar to Akron. I nailed like the point differential in our prediction, by the way. I went back and listened, and I nailed like the 35-point difference. I just had it.
What did I say? Something crazy, like 65?
No, it was ours was actually very similar. You were like not far from me, but I just absolutely nailed the prediction. I didn't think we would get there in this game. I thought the offense would take a while to get going in this game, but it was the defense that took a while to get going in this game. And the biggest,
by a while,
there are a lot of problems.
You mean the entire first half?
And hell, man, the second half too, because let's understand something. Marshall's starting quarterback got hurt. What? Like midway through the third quarter, early in the third quarter, Stone Earl, who I didn't know was their starter. I don't know. They've been kind of playing like merry-go-round with their starting quarterbacks, but Stone Earl was dicing that defense up, and he gets hurt. And then like the quarterback that can run and can't throw very well comes in. Then Ohio State really is able to tee off. But holy shit, man. Let me start off from a schematic standpoint, because I've said all year, Ohio State under Jim Knowles. Actually, I haven't said all year. I've been saying for like the last year and a half since we've had this podcast that Knowles is not aggressive enough. He plays too soft. He played fine in He actually played fairly aggressive in 2022 in spots. But the only game he really played ultra aggressive in was that Michigan game. A lot of the year, he didn't really blitz a lot. So in the one game he did blitz, he got burned because we didn't have the secondary to hold up. Well, the last 2 years, you kind of do have the secondary to hold up. So what the fuck are we doing? Why are we playing so soft? Like, for instance, the first drive of the game, rush for the entire drive. Not one time did they blitz, but I believe it was like the first third down Marshall had on the first drive. They had like a 3rd and 4. If Ohio State just brings an extra guy and doesn't allow that quarterback to roll left, that's 3 and out right there. But you allowed him the time to be able to roll left in a little bit softer coverage and found the guy underneath. And that led to Marshall scoring a touchdown. If you just bring an extra guy there, have a little tighter coverage, that's 3 and out.
Yeah. I mean, I certainly still have some questions about Jim Knowles. I think he's I think that in the grand scheme of DCs, he's a pretty good DC. I don't think he's a great DC, maybe just a kind of good DC. He does enough to give your offense a chance. But this, I think the biggest rewrite of this season so far early is that we thought that this was going to be a dominant defense, something along the lines of Michigan 2023, Georgia 2021, or whenever that was. And it's not. It does not appear it is. And I don't see that it will be, because we've just got some glaring issues that I don't know if they can be fixed, mainly at the linebacker position.
Well, that too, but we just don't have the explosive edge rushers to be only rushing 4 guys all the time, because I was looking. Go ahead.
Here's the thing, Jay. He did blitz some against Marshall. I'm not saying he did a lot, but he did some. But the one reason we never notice his blitzing is because they never get home. We never get home.
I saw one blitz. So here's my thing. They blitzed for the first time in the game with 8.5 minutes left in the second quarter. Now, they did get burned on that blitz, but here's the thing. If you're not doing something very often, you're not going to get good at it in live gameplay. It's just, you just can't just throw it out there and blitz randomly and expect to have success. That's something they should be doing consistently to get ready and be ready to do it when the time comes in bigger games. You see what I'm saying?
No, I mean, I agree. I agree. You know, I can, I guess, see the logic that some people will say of, oh, well, you don't want to show your best blitz packages. But here's the thing. I'm over this, like, not showing anything, because I don't feel like there's ever anything that Ryan Day or Jim Knowles whipped out at the end of the season that was like, oh, that was what we've been waiting for, or that was a wrinkle that we haven't seen. It's like, defenses are what they are, and what makes a defense effective blitzing is being able to disguise that blitz. And that's what Michigan did so well last year, is they could disguise blitzes and bring them from different places. They brought blitzes from the secondary. You know, I don't recall Jim Knowles dialing up many, if any, blitzes using our very talented guys from the secondary. Does he?
Not that I'm aware. Not in this game. I think they did against Western Michigan some. They didn't against Akron. It's like Western Michigan, the defensive game plan was like not aggressive enough for my taste, but they were aggressive in spots. They weren't even aggressive in spots against Marshall. They just played basic bullshit, weak sauce, fucking terrible shit. I don't even know how to describe it, man. It's just, as time goes on, Jim Knowles is just not a fit at Ohio State, man. He just doesn't draw a line in the sand for a line of scrimmage type thing. He's just not a culture fit. He's just like some weird old man that he doesn't recruit very well. He doesn't call games very well either. So what the fuck are we paying this guy over $2 million for? Go get the defense. Go get the defensive coordinator for Auburn. His name escapes me right now. He was a former Maryland head coach. He's from Ohio. Go get that guy. He should be our defensive coordinator, not this fucking guy.
Here's the problem. This was the window to have a great defense. When you had, you know, everything that you have this year. And if you can't have a great defense this year, then it's just going to be probably hard to have a great defense. I mean, we needed a different defensive coordinator the last couple of years. You know, Jim Knowles, he cost, and ultimately I blame Ryan Day, because Ryan Day is the one that is the head coach, but Jim Knowles very much cost Ohio State a national championship already with his defensive calls in the Georgia game in the fourth quarter. And so, you know, this offense should be good enough not to have a defense that's completely locked down. But the dynamic of the season has changed. This offense, going against a Texas, going against a Georgia, going against probably a Alabama or someone of the likes, this offense is going to have to score some points, because I don't see this defense holding those teams under 20 points. Like, I just don't see that that's going to happen.
I don't either, man. Let's start with the defensive line. My God, dude, without Tyleik Williams, the defensive line wasn't getting no push, no explosiveness. JT Tuimoloau, whatever the fuck, just worthless, man. I remember how excited I was when we got him to commit a couple years ago, back on like July. I think it was on July 4th, 2021.
Yeah.
He's just worthless, man. He does nothing. He doesn't create any negative plays, and he just looks slow chasing down that Stone Earl early in the game. Ty Hamilton, they said, like, he's great when he has Tyleik beside him, but without Tyleik, they said, oh, he just doesn't do well on his own. Okay, well, then he's not a great player, because you shouldn't need another person to elevate you to be a good defensive tackle. You should be good without him as well. Jack Sawyer, he's solid. Caden Curry seemed like he provided the best pass rush on the day, and then he got ejected for targeting, which was the right call, by the way. It's just, man, the defensive line just doesn't leave a lot to be desired. They don't really create a lot of negative plays. Now, I know Tyleik, when he comes back, he's going to fix that, but what's worrisome is we don't have the depth there that we were led to believe, man. Even Caden McDonald, I didn't really notice him out there making many plays. The best defensive tackle I saw on the day was Tyrone Malone, the transfer from Ole Miss and former Bergen Catholic player from New Jersey.
Well, I'm glad that you noticed him doing well. But yeah, I mean, the defensive line, I think the defensive line is fine. I don't think the defensive line is great. It doesn't have any pass rush. Maybe Jack Sawyer will crank up and start to put some sacks together as the year goes on. But I mean, it's just clear at this point that there's just not a whole lot of bend and rush out of those two guys. JT Tuimoloau has a very difficult time getting a sack. He's one of the more disappointing recruits, in recent years. And so, yeah, I mean, there's nothing else you can say. We need to be able to get more pressure, but that's not going to change this year because it hasn't changed in the last 3 years.
Michael, the linebacker position, you had a lot to say to me on the linebacker position after the game. I think we talked later that day. You were telling me that the biggest problem is Alex Sonny Styles. Can you again? I'll leave it to you to talk about the linebackers, man. The linebackers are a massive problem. Massive problem.
Yeah, I mean, Alex Styles just does not have linebacker instincts. He does not fill the gap when he should. He's late to the hole. And he's going to make some tackles for 4 and 5 yard gains, but he's late to the hole. I mean, just basic instincts, basic counter that was ran, balls flowing away from him, or at least it appears to be flowing away from him. He's got to step up backside. He's got to step up backside anyway if there's a cutback, but this happens to just be a counter. He recognizes it late because his first step is the wrong direction. I'm directly above him, and he's late back to the hole. And what I noticed is he's actually very fast, but that speed doesn't help you when you take the first step the wrong way. And so he ends up hitting the guy about 2.5 yards deep when he should have hit him for a loss had he have just read that play right. He hits him about 2.5 yards deep, and the guy goes forward for about another 1.5 yards. So it's 2nd and 6 on a play that the linebackers should have at best stuffed it for a couple of yard loss, at worst given up a couple of yard gain. And now Marshall's once again ahead of the chains, and Georgia's going to be ahead of the chains. Alabama's going to be ahead of the chains. Like, our linebackers are a problem. They do not fill. They do not, attack the line of scrimmage quickly. And I think it can potentially be fixed. People are down on Reese after this week. I don't know why they're so down on him, because he still looked better than Styles.
I think Gabe Powers needs to be given a chance, Michael. I think Gabe Powers needs to be given a chance because CJ Hicks and Alex Styles have just, let's be real, they're turned out to be busts, and they're just, Alex Styles, man, when I watch him play, he just doesn't look like a football player. He just looks like a guy that tries to read and react too much. He doesn't play with his hair on fire. He's just not a natural football player. It's just like, you either have that deep down or you don't. Yeah, he has all the physical attributes, but you can have all the physical attributes all day long, but you got to have a desire to literally hurt the person bad across from you. And I don't know that he has that when you watch him play, but hey, man, he's a great athlete. Jake Diebler on the basketball team. I looked at the basketball roster today. They released it. They're small at shooting guard. Come on, Alex, man, go work on your jump shot. Go out there and be a 6'4" shooting guard. Go back and join your boy Devin Royal and join the basketball team, man. So, yeah, I'll just leave it at that about the linebackers, man. A lot of depression to set in for me because I thought they were going to be, a really, really athletic unit. Tommy Eichenberg was gone, but a lot of problems there. I'll lead off with the secondary, man. The secondary, you're not going to notice them as much. I mean, like, Marshall had all day to fucking throw the ball, like all fucking day to throw the ball. Like, I thought the coverage was actually pretty good. But, one thing that stands out to me is, Caleb Downs has just been a complete non-factor in this defense out of making one flash tackle against Western Michigan. I still say they need to bench Lathan Ransom and start Jordan Hancock in his spot and then put like Jermaine Matthews or Denzel Burke on the slot with the other as a boundary corner, especially in like passing situations because Lathan Ransom gave up, the one passing touchdown that Marshall had on the day in the back of the end zone. He just vacated that spot or wasn't quick enough to cover that receiver from Mallard Creek High School here in Charlotte, man, the team that beat Moeller. So, yeah, that's it with the secondary, man. I think they're good, but they're not featured enough because they don't play a lot of press and man coverage, zero coverage. They should be. They should be featured more, but Jim Knowles treats his secondary like they're Iowa when they're Ohio State. They have as much talent in the secondary as any team in the country, but we play like we're fucking Iowa and just play like a bunch of soft bitches, man. No, nothing else to be said there. Hey, Michael, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Secondary, yeah, I'm relatively positive on the secondary. Not perfect, but I do think it's certainly good enough. The linebackers are my major concern. The defensive line is what it is. We kind of knew that. We hoped it would take a step forward, but it is what it is. It's a pretty good defensive line, below average linebacker play, and pretty good to very good secondary play. So, it's a defense that's going to give up points against the best offenses. And so it's not like Jim Knowles' defenses really have ever specialized in takeaways or anything like that. And so, maybe that'll change in the big games this year, but it certainly hasn't in the past. And I think that we just have to kind of retool our thinking and know that this team still has to be driven by the offense, and the defense has to do their job to, just make it manageable. But they're not going to be a lockdown defense, I don't believe.
I'd be remiss if we just didn't touch on special teams, man. What a fucking late-term abortion that was, having Jaden Fielding just kick the ball out of bounds 3 times in a row. Like, not much to be said there. He needs benched, but how much of a fuck up was it for Ryan Day to not go get Graham Nicholson from Miami of Ohio, the Lou Groza Award winner, in your backyard? Supposedly he's an Ohio State fan. Just pay the guy some fucking money and have him come and be your kicker. But now we have to settle for this guy who fucking sucks. We don't have a kicker again. Ryan Day just doesn't pay any fucking attention to special teams. And special teams is a real problem, man. Real problem. I think Brandon Innes is a solid punt returner, but it's not like he's done a whole lot there yet. He's just flashed, but disaster there. Michael, Michigan State this week, man. Just real quick on them. They're a lot better than the score would say against Boston College. I just want to let you know, when I watched them play against Boston College, they were without like their top 3 wide receivers. They were on the road. Their defense is actually fundamentally sound, unlike Ohio State's. They actually play with leverage, and their linebackers attack. That quarterback from Boston College, we know he's really good. So it's going to be a tougher game than the score would, than like the line would say. I can tell you that much right now. Do you have any thoughts on that before you want to make a prediction this week? It's on the road. It's at night.
It's on the road. It's at night. Michigan State's going to be fired up. I think it's going to be a challenge early. But I do think the Buckeyes are going to prevail and look very solid. And I'm going to go with the Buckeye 38-13 win.
I'm going to go Ohio State 42-21.
All right.
That means Michigan State's going to cover the spread.
There we have it. 38-13 and 42-21. All right.
Yeah. I don't have anything else.
Yeah, that's got it. All right. Well, we're going to get out. Thank you guys for watching. We'll be back with another episode this week. See ya.